So our first topic that we'll be focusing on is writing. The this course is called Effective Communication. Now, what you're looking at is not just communication as in talking, because there are various forms of communication, right? And of course, communication involves any exchange of information and so forth. Now, speaking is a form of communication, so that's the first one you would have mentioned to me, verbal communication. But we also have other forms of communication. For example, writing. Whenever we write, we are communicating. Because if I say to you, what time are you coming? I'm communicating with you, right? I'm talking to you. But the difference is I have written it, so I spoke to you on probably a piece of paper. So whenever we are sending a text message on our phone, we are speaking to someone, but just via texting form. Whenever we send an email, of course, we are still speaking with someone there and then again, but just via typing form. Now, what is writing? We do it every day, but have we ever really considered what is writing? Writing is speaking to others on paper or on a computer screen. So if you, let's say you are in a class and you are scribbling down some notes on a piece of paper, you speak that, or you say you write a note to your supervisor. You're speaking to your supervisor on that piece of paper, right? If you use a computer screen, let's say you type your monthly report, you're speaking to whoever it is submitted to. However, just on a computer screen, it is not you're speaking to them if you send them an email or what have you. Now, writing is partly a talent, but it's mainly a skill. And like any skill, it improves with practice. So no one was born an excellent or perfect writer. There's somebody who was just born with a talent to write. It is a skill, which means that over time with practice, it improves and it requires a lot of practice. Now, it is also an action. Why is it an action? You know, you sit there, you type something on a computer screen, you get a pen, you write something. Why is it considered then an action? No, it's an action because it is a process of discovering and assembling your ideas. Because I'm sure before you actually write anything, you have to, an idea must have come to mind. You thought about something before you actually wrote it. You didn't just start writing and you don't know where the things came from. Right? So it involves discovering and assembling your ideas, putting them on paper and reshaping and revising them. So after you have put it on paper, I wouldn't want to believe that any of you are like persons who probably write an exam or you do a piece of work and you don't take the time out to read it over, right? Generally, after writing, you review, you look if there's anything that could be changed, is your punctuation right, is your grammar in check, and all of that. So it is really an action. And if upon reading it over you realize, oh, I spelled this word incorrectly, I missed a word here, I missed a comma or a full stop there, what we're actually going to do is change that. So it is really, writing is also an action. That is why we say that it is also an action. Now, is there a relationship between speaking and writing? There actually is one. Because when you speak, what you actually do, say words that mean something. I'm sure everybody speak because they mean something. There shouldn't be anybody that just speak saying words that mean nothing. You share an idea. So you speak to share an idea, right? You also speak, so if you want to, they ask you what do you think about the inauguration ceremony that was held recently in the United States. You share your idea about it, right? You give your opinion. You speak to give information. Let's say you're called in by your supervisor to give details about an incident that occurred last week. You're going to tell what happened, giving information, right? Now express a greeting whenever we say good morning, good afternoon, good night, how are you doing? So whenever we do those things, we are speaking, and we do have a reason for saying them because we are expressing a greeting, right? You can speak to state an opinion as well, and also to send a warning. You want to let somebody know that something is dangerous. You're going to tell them be careful and all of that, right? Now, what then is the relationship between speaking and writing? Why do you speak? So yes, we looked at the reason you speak to all these things. When you speak, you do those things. I'm sorry. So why do you speak? You speak because one, you have something to say. Now that something that you have to say is called a subject. Two, because you have a reason for saying it. You're not going to just get up and say something without a reason, right? That won't be logical. So you speak because you have a reason for saying it. That is called a purpose. Now, you also speak because you have someone to say to. Now, I know there are persons that may enjoy talking to themselves. So, um, you may be saying you don't have to speak because you have someone to say to. But even if you're talking to yourself, you do have someone to say whatever you're saying to, which is yourself. Now, the someone to say to is an audience. Example, I am very happy that you were able to make it, Susan. In that case, the subject will be what? I, right? That will be the subject. I hope you are looking carefully at it. Now, what will be the reason for saying it? What is the purpose? Look at it again. I'm very happy that you were able to make it, Susan. Of course, the purpose would be to express your gratitude and your happiness for Susan being present, right? You're happy that she was able to be there. And the audience, who are you saying this to? Of course, that would be Susan herself. Why do you write? For the very reasons you speak. Remember, we looked at the reasons you speak because you have something to say, which is your subject, a reason for saying it, which is your purpose, and someone to say it to, which is your audience. Those are the very same reasons we write. Now though, what are the differences between speaking and writing? When you can, when you speak, what happens is you can see and hear your listeners, right? So when you're speaking to someone, you can see their reaction, you can hear what they are saying. If they are saying, whoa, this is a lovely presentation, or they are saying, this is the worst I've ever heard, you can hear the reaction. Um, If, let's say, you're doing a presentation and you see everybody yawning, you know that you're getting a reaction from them, quite non-verbal, but still communication, feedback. The yawning would signify that they are probably bored, the presentation, they don't find it interesting. So when you speak, you can see and hear your listeners. However, when you write, you cannot see or hear your readers, so you must predict their reaction. So when you write something, if somebody upon reading it finds it boring, you are not there. There's no way you can tell, right? If somebody finds it uninteresting, you don't know either if after reading it someone puts it down and said foolishness. You can't tell. So that's the difference. When you speak, you can get the reaction. You can see facial expressions, body language. You can hear feedback. However, when you write, you can't do all those things. So that's the difference. How then can you predict the reader's reaction? Because you cannot do that when you write. You must therefore pay attention to your word choice. So if you want to stress a point, you know you're going to use your exclamation mark. If you're asking a question, remember it's not like speaking where you can hear the information, so you hear, where are you? And the tone lets you know that it's a question. When you write, how will someone know that you're asking a question? You have to ensure that you have your question mark. If you want a pause in a sentence for clarity, you know you need to have your comma. So at the beginning of every new sentence, you have to use your full stop. So those things are very important. So because you cannot emphasize your ideas through your body and speaking voice, you have to pay close attention to your word choice. Always remember that. You must choose your language carefully, arrange it carefully, and punctuate it carefully. Let's say you're writing a poem for a group of basic school students. You won't use certain words in it. Remember, they're not in front of you to see their reaction, but you can predict. So you wouldn't use certain words as he has been given the auspicious task of charging, and so forth. You will know that you need to put simple words that they can understand. So that is very important. And like I said, you have to ensure that you punctuate it properly. Now, what are the purposes of writing? Why do we write? Writing to work. Now, I'm sure writing is a part of everybody's job. There's some point at work that everybody writes because even in the first place, how did you land that job? I'm sure you must have written a letter of application and a resume, which is how you introduce yourself to your employers. That is how you first spoke to them on paper, right? It was based upon that they decided to contact you because they like how you spoke to them on that paper, so they wanted to get to learn more about you. So I think it's functional to all professions. You will get a job if you have a strong letter of application and resume. You keep a job by writing clear memos and reports. So if you are a person, writing can help you to get your job and it can also help you to keep your job. Because if you're writing a report about an incident that took place last week, Monday, and then you start off by saying, on Monday, January, whatever, 2013, whilst in the elevator, then you move on to say, approximately 6 months ago, and you add in some new information. Then you go back to another incident that happened in October. Then you get back to the current incident. Then you go back to about 10 months ago. I'm sure your supervisor will be quite annoyed because there's no way they could actually understand that report. It won't be clear at all to them. So you keep a job by writing clear memos and reports. If you're an office worker, you'll have to write memos and reports. If you are a healthcare professional, you will write clear memos, reports, and orders. So while I have provided a comprehensive list with different professions, it's just to prove to you that writing is a part of our profession. And if you're an electrician, when you go to the place, I'm sure you'll have to write down, let's say, the person will need to buy some tools or whatever in order to remedy the problem that you'll be working on for them. You're going to write it down and give them an estimate. If you're a plumber, you need to write down the list of things that the person needs to buy as well. If you're in construction, you need to make a list of the material the person needs to buy, all of that. Everybody needs to write in their job. Now, if you're a healthcare professional, you write clear memos, records, and orders. If you're a lawyer, you write legal briefs and documents. Now, why write? Continue. Writing to learn. So we start writing to work. Now we are looking at writing to learn. Now as a college student, you need to take notes and write clear essays. Because oftentimes when students fail exams, it's not necessarily because of the fact that they do not know the information that is required of them. But it is because of the fact that their writing is not clear. So the examiner, the marker, is not able to figure out what it is that they are saying, and probably they really know the answer, but the way in which they put it forward, they haven't written it clearly. They are not able to pass that exam. And this is why this course will, well, it should spill over into all your other courses, because I am sure we need to write for our exams, we need to write for our tests. And in the event that sorry, we are not able to express ourselves clearly and we are not able to read questions and understand exactly what they're asking of us. Because oftentimes we're going to an exam and we misinterpret it. So in this course, your comprehension skills will be sharpened as well. You go in there, you see a question, you say, I really don't know the answer to this one. Then when you step outside and, persons are discussing it, that is when you may look into yourself and say, you probably say, this is really what the question was asking. I know that answer, you know? So you need to take notes and you need to write clear essays. You need to give clear responses to questions. Reports and answers to exams. And in some courses, you will have essays to write. If you, so writing is actually necessary in the college setting to write your exams, write your essays, take your notes, all of that. So it has many purposes here. Now, writing to communicate. So we looked at writing to work, writing to learn. Now we're looking at writing to communicate. Now, for email, whenever you send out an email, you use Yahoo, Hotmail, Gmail, all AOL, all the email, whatever they are called. You're writing to communicate. Alright? No, for hand letters. I'm not sure if you could actually still write hand letters, but back in the days, persons used to actually write their letters, go to the post office, put it in an envelope, buy a stamp or a stamp, and mail it off. Right? But I'm sure that form is not so common nowadays. But even if you pass a note, let's say you're sitting in a meeting and you want to say something to a person that is sitting two persons away from you, or even somebody beside you, you may just write a little note and pass it to them if they are beside you, or write a little note and ask for it to pass over until it gets to them. Now, interestingly, we can also write for ourselves, writing for yourself. Many persons, whenever they have a problem, they use writing for therapeutic purposes. So if they're faced with a problem, the best thing for them to actually do is just write. You're upset right now, you write about it, you write about everything. That's the way in which you handle your problems, conflict resolution. That's the way of getting it off your head and all of that, right? Now, many persons, they just write a lot, especially in the teenage years. Persons may have had diaries in which all your events are written there and all of that. Many persons, they like to write poems. That's what they do for their pastime. Whenever they are bored or they want something to do, something to free their mind, they sit, they write a story, they write a play, they write a poem, that sort of thing. So writing for yourself, you write for yourself to explore your ideas, your plans, your sorrows, and dreams. I'm sure many persons probably have written like a 5 year plan, things that they want to achieve by the next 5 or 10 years. You write it. After 5 years or 10 years, you look at it and see how well you have really done with that list. Sorrows, you're really sad. You may just choose to write to get it out of your head. Your plans, of course, as I mentioned, your dreams. You have a 5 year plan, a 10 year plan. You see how well it goes. Now to record what we have done. So like persons may have a little journal or a diary. The things that you have done, you make a note of it and learn or need to learn or do. Oftentimes, persons who are busy, they may need to have to-do lists. So every day you get your little sticky pad and you write down the things to do for that particular day. You stick it on your desk or wherever and you check as you go along. It keeps you reminded of what you actually need to accomplish for the day. Um, what you need to do, as I said, to-do list, what you have learned. You may just jot it down so you can remember and you can draw back on it in the future. Draw back for it to assist you in situations or whatever in the future. Now, we also write for ourselves to communicate with friends and relatives. How do you write to communicate with friends? I'm sure the most common form of writing to communicate with friends would be by text messaging. We have so many applications. We have WhatsApp that you can use to send them a message. We have the BlackBerry Messenger that you can use to write them a message once again. We also have what other ways you may communicate with your friends by writing an email. You may choose to use the option of sending them an email, and we can also send them a text message, writing to them via a text message, right? For those of us whose phones are not so smart. So those are some of the ways. Now to communicate with relatives would really fall within the same realm. Now, we may also write for ourselves to record family history so our children and grandchildren can know and appreciate their heritage. So there was a family reunion, you may write about it and share it with your children and grandchildren in years to come. And just write about things about the family, write about your experience living with your grandmother, your mother. So in the event that God forbid they may have passed away, by the time you start having kids or grandkids, you can share some of these experiences with them, right? Now, for our own growth and pleasure. Remember earlier on I said that writing is not so much a talent that you were born with. Nobody was just born. And from the day they were born, they started to say, look at him, he's a good writer. It is a skill. So you may write for your own growth. So you have a problem with writing, your grammar and so forth. So you choose to write a lot so that you may grow, your writing skills may improve. And also for pleasure, remember I told you many persons may choose to write a poem, they may choose to write a song. Writing may be their escape from reality. Now, very important to remember, good writers follow one universal practice, which is the fact that they write a lot. Because remember, with repetition, everything becomes better. If you want to pronounce a word properly, you call it every day. And then, of course, it will be reinforced and you will get it right. Once you practice, it will provide reinforcement and it will improve and it will allow room for growth for you as a writer. Because I'm sure even some of the world's best writers, for example, Shakespeare and those, Aristotle, those people, probably from they were extremely young, writing is what they practiced. It was their escape. It was just a hobby of theirs, right? And you may look at them right now and think, they're such good writers. Derek Walcott. Even look at one of our own local, globally recognized writers, Derek Walcott. I'm sure he must have written a whole lot. And you may look at him and say, he's such a good writer, he's recognized by everyone as such an excellent writer. But it is because of the fact that what he actually practiced writing a lot. That is very important as a writer. So recapping what was covered in the slide, we looked at the reason for writing, why is it that we write, and we write for many different reasons. We write for ourselves, we write to learn, we write for work, we write to learn, we write for work, we write for ourselves, right? No, we also write to send warnings, it can be broken down into specific. Now, in writing for ourselves, we mean, for pleasure, to archive some of our family memories and all of that. We write to communicate, we use emails, we use hand letters, and in the difference between speaking and writing, very important that we look on is the fact that when you speak, you can see your listeners, you can see their reaction, you can use body language to, reinforce what you are saying. While when you speak, when you write, you can't see your listeners, you can't see their reaction. So we have to be very careful when writing because the only thing that you can do is predict their reaction. So we have to shape it to get the desired reaction. Now this is the end of our topic writing. Our next topic will be the writing process.